After cheating on me, my ex offered me 5 million. He pleaded with me not to end our relationship. Once I accepted the black card, I firmly rejected him. I then moved into a luxury neighborhood in the suburbs. I did this for one reason, only. I have a single goal. I need a quiet space to myself. I want to slowly heal the wounds in my heart. I need to shatter the pride from that failed relationship. I will slowly piece it back together. But I never saw it coming. I recently moved in and considered the girl next door as my sister. But she actually wants to be my girlfriend. As an architect, I am already pretty busy with work. Working late is just part of the routine. Living alone suits me just fine. It is simple and routine, and I don't have to deal with anyone. I don't have to force myself to fit in with others. That was until he moved in, right across from me. I first met Liu Ruyan on the day she moved in. She wore a simple white t-shirt and jeans. Her high ponytail looks tidy and fresh. A few strands of hair on her forehead are dampened by sweat. Yet her face is adorned with an exceptionally bright smile. She looks like a college student who just graduated. She's clean and sunny, with a touch of adorable silliness. She waved at me as soon as she saw me come out. Hi there. I'm the new neighbor who just moved in. My name is Liu Ruyan, and I look forward to getting along well with you. Her voice is clear and melodious, like a wind chime gently swaying in the breeze. I nodded politely and introduced myself. After he spoke, he shut the door. I just hoped quietly that my new neighbor wouldn't be too loud, but I clearly underestimated his eagerness. On the second night after I moved in, at 9 o'clock, someone knocked on my door. I opened the door and saw Liu Ruyan. She was wearing an adorable rabbit onesie, holding an empty kettle, with a shy smile. That mister, he said, I'm sorry to bother you. It looks like my gas is out of order. Since I can't boil water, can I borrow some from your place to make some instant noodles? I gazed into those big, twinkling eyes of his. I swallowed the refusal that was on the tip of my tongue and said, come in. I moved aside to let him in. I watched her expertly boil water and prepare instant noodles in my kitchen. She kept on expressing her gratitude. The little annoyance of being interrupted gradually faded. Well, it is only natural for neighbors to lend a hand. On the third night, there was another knock on the door at 10 o'clock. He was looking troubled while holding his phone. Mr. He, my home Wi-Fi just dropped unexpectedly. I just can't seem to connect to it. I need to submit something tomorrow. Could you help me out? I let out a resigned sigh and handed him the note with the Wi-Fi password. Thanks. You're really a lifesaver. He took the note, grinning widely with his eyes turned into crescents. On the fourth day, he dropped by again at 5 in the afternoon. He came struggling with a massive delivery box that he could barely lift. On the fifth night at 8, his light bulb went out. As time passed, it had already turned into the sixth day. I couldn't help but wonder if she was doing it intentionally. What are the odds of so many coincidences happening? Yet every time I saw his earnest expression, at least it appeared to be a genuine cry for help. I began to wonder if I was overthinking things. Perhaps she is just a bit absent, minded by nature. Maybe she just really needs help. Aside from these little troubles, generally, she is quite well behaved and doesn't cause any trouble. Sometimes, he would even treat me to some homemade snacks. The leftover fruits are surprisingly tasty. After he kept knocking on my door 13 times like this, he came again on the 14th knock. This time, he came empty-handed. He simply stood at the door, grinning at me. I leaned against the door frame, looking at her with a sigh. Come on, Miss Liu. What do you want to borrow this time? Soy sauce, vinegar, or maybe cat food? Yes, he has a cat as well. He mentioned that he was quite shy, and I had never encountered it before. As he stared at me, he suddenly burst into laughter. I'm not borrowing anything today. As soon as I relaxed, he stepped forward. He leaned in closer, his eyes always sparkling with laughter. Right now, his bright eyes held a light that I couldn't comprehend. He hesitated for a moment, his voice barely above a whisper, but it felt like a small stone had been thrown into the lake of my tranquil heart. I am here today to return something. Return? What do you mean? I am totally lost. She gazed at me, her lips curling into a pair of adorable dimples. She spoke in a tone that was almost a declaration. Give back all the fluttering feelings I've had this past month, and those feelings I had from Liu Ruyan's random words. Completely baffled. What fluttering feelings are you talking about? Is this girl crazy? Gazing at me like she is in a trance, as if she has been hit by lightning. Liu Ruyan smiled, even more joyfully. She just left it at that. She just playfully winked at me. She turned and fluttered back home like a delicate butterfly, leaving me alone at the door, stunned for a long time. The phrase heart flutter felt like a spell. It kept swirling in my head all night. It left me feeling uneasy. Was he joking? Or was he for real? If he was serious, then it just can't happen between us. Definitely impossible. Since I just broke up with Hee not long ago, he is quite serious and doesn't show much interest in anything other than work. What could possibly attract him to an ordinary architect? I must be overthinking it. He was probably just joking or trying out some new way to flirt. I desperately tried to use all sorts of rational analysis to dismiss that ridiculous possibility, but my heart's uncontrollable racing is silently reminding me Hee Jae-nian seems a bit out of control. Since that day, Liu Ruyan has held back a lot. He doesn't come up with excuses to knock on my door every day anymore. Yet, it hasn't truly vanished. Rather, it has transformed into a quiet and gentle way of nurturing. Little by little, it seeps into my life. When I forget to pick up a package, he takes the initiative to help me sign for it. He'll remind me via WeChat that I am working late. He sends me a message. Mr. He, I cooked your favorite dish. There is plenty left in the pot. Would you like to taste it? When the property management nudges about the utilities, he'll conveniently help me pay. Then he sends me a screenshot of the payment receipt. He has been away on a business trip for quite a few days now, under the excuse of helping to look after a supposedly shy ragdoll cat. It ended up being fostered at my place. The plump cat named Nian Gao is not shy at all. It got way too familiar and turned my home into its second home. It is either lounging on my keyboard or taking over my favorite spot on the sofa. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan used the excuse of bringing cat food and playing with Nian Gao as a pretext to come over to my place more often. I kept insisting, it is fine, I can handle this myself, but you really need to take the cat back soon. Yet my body is being completely honest. I tend to glance at the door across the hall whenever I get off work and head home. I can't help but set an extra pair of chopsticks and a bowl when I eat. Seeing the silly, adorable look of the rice cake makes me smile without even realizing it. My lips involuntarily curl up. I even find myself looking forward to it. I wonder what new excuse he'll come up with today to interrupt my peace. I feel like a wild animal that is being gradually tamed. I know I shouldn't indulge in getting close to danger, but I find myself drawn to his seemingly bright and sunny demeanor. Bit by bit, you lower your defenses. You reveal the tender spot deep within that craves warmth. Liu Ruyan, what are you really after? What's your agenda in getting close to me? I gaze at the rice cake, soundly asleep on my lap. My mind is a jumbled mess. Just as I find myself drawn to him, like a frog slowly being boiled, it's a mix of annoyance and a strange kind of enjoyment. A surprise discovery left me utterly flustered. That day, I accidentally opened Liu Ruyan's social media profile. She's a lifestyle influencer. She shares about food, restaurant visits, and travel adventures. And she also shares the daily life of her plump cat, Nian Gao. Her style is casual and fun, and she puts a lot of heart into her work. She has quite a number of fans. I casually browsed through her videos and posts. In a vlog about staying home and checking out exhibitions over the weekend, I spotted a familiar photo. That was a concept model showcased at a small architectural design exhibition I attended last year. It was showcased there. The camera angle clearly matches the background music from the live video. It is a niche band that I really enjoy. Not many people are aware of pure instrumental music. I felt my heart skip a beat. Could this be a coincidence? I found myself scrolling back without thinking. The content he posted earlier, I discovered even more coincidences. He suggested a cafe that I frequently go to. He even pinpointed my favorite spot by the window. He talked about a really obscure book on architectural theory. That was the book that introduced me to my major. He even used a meme in a video, roasting the client. He used the exact same joke I had complained about on my social media. This is definitely not just a coincidence. He has known me for a while now, and he knows me inside out. I broke out in a cold sweat instantly. This thought shocked me even more than when he mentioned borrowing a kiss. It shocked me even more than before. Who on earth is he? How does he know so many things about me? Is it possible he's been secretly investigating me? I need to shut down his account right now. My heart is racing non-stop. I'm overwhelmed by a feeling of being spied on and schemed against. The street scenes that used to seem so innocent, concern that felt just right. Right now, everything I see feels so intentional and calculated. Him moving in right across from me is definitely not a coincidence. He is coming for me. But what is he after with me? Hee Jae-nian? Aside from a face that is somewhat decent, a job that won't leave me starving, what else could possibly be worth him scheming so hard to get close? Is it possible that my ex-girlfriend, who I just broke up with, sent him to get back at me, sent here to get revenge on me? They don't even know one another. Their styles are totally different. The more I think about it, the more confused I get. The more I ponder, the creepier it gets. Liu Ruyan is quite something. Beneath her sweet smile, what kind of motives lie behind it? I need to figure this out. I can't let him control me any longer. I take a deep breath in. I rise and head towards the door. I fling the door open. Suddenly, coincidentally, the door of Liu Ruyan's house swings open too. He was getting ready to leave. He was holding a rice cake in his arms. She froze for a moment when she saw me. Then, she broke into a sunny, radiant smile. Mr. He, you really are quite clever. So, you are heading out? I didn't respond to his greeting. I walked directly up to him. I locked my gaze onto his eyes, my voice icy. Liu Ruyan, who exactly are you? My abrupt confrontation and the biting coldness made Liu Ruyan smile, freeze in an instant. She tightened her arms slightly around the cat. A glimmer of panic flashed in her eyes, soon replaced by a facade of confusion. Mr. He, what are you implying? I am Liu Ruyan, aren't I? I let out a chilling laugh and kept pressing forward. So, could Miss Liu explain why there are photos of my work on your social media? How come you know my favorite coffee shop and the spot I prefer? How do you know about the niche books I read for my major? You even know the jokes I share about the client on my social media. Please don't tell me this is all just a coincidence. Each of my questions hits him like a hammer to the heart. His face started to turn pale little by little. He started to look away. The serval cat's fingers turned white from gripping tightly. I knew I was right in my guess. He really knew me a long time ago. You've known me inside out for a long time. She tried to speak up in defense, but found herself at a loss for words. I trapped him at the doorway, relentlessly pushing him further. You've plotted to move right across from me. What's your motive behind all these excuses to get close to me? My voice trembled with excitement. My chest was rising and falling violently. Feeling deceived and manipulated filled me with anger and profound disappointment. I nearly developed feelings for this deeply calculating woman. In her gaze, there was no hiding the anger and disgust she felt towards me. Liu Ruyan's eyes began to well up. He hung his head and stayed silent for quite a while. I thought he wouldn't say anything more. Then I heard him softly say, in a voice as gentle as Wen Rui's, "Because I like you," or something like that. I felt like I had been hit by lightning, frozen in place. Hearing him say he liked me. What did you say? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She lifted her head. Her eyes were red, yet her gaze held a stubborn defiance and a sense of grievance, as if she was ready to throw it all away. I told him I liked him. The year of he has been going on for quite a while now. Back when you didn't even know who I was. In a split second, my mind just went blank. What the heck is going on here? She has had a crush on me for quite some time now. How can this even be possible? Who the heck are you? My throat feels dry. She nibbled on her lip. She inhaled deeply. It seems like I've finally made a decision. I was among the first fans of your public account. I've gone through every article you've posted. I've cast my vote in every competition you've taken part in. I even snuck in to listen to the trophy event you had at the Design Institute last year. He hesitated for a moment, and his cheeks turned slightly red. I've been keeping an eye on you for quite a while. I know your likes and dislikes. I'm aware of your habits and interests. I even know why you and your ex-girlfriend broke up. Her words detonated in my mind like a series of bombs. They exploded in my mind. She was aware of all the reasons for the breakup at the fan meeting. This woman has been harboring a crush on me for a long time. She has thoroughly investigated everything about me. At that moment, I was at a loss for words to express how I felt. I felt shock, absurdity, and a weird sensation of being watched. So I was having a hard time processing all of this. You moved to the place right across from me just to, He nodded. His gaze was remarkably determined. I get that you are feeling low after your breakup. I want to get closer to you and see if there is a possibility. What kind of chance are you talking about? I asked, without thinking. He gave me a sudden smile. There was a hint of mischief in that smile, and a touch of determination. I have a chance to make you my own. To make you my own. Liu Ruyan said this with such confidence that it was hard to doubt. It feels like I'm not a grown-up with my own thoughts, but rather something she has long coveted and feels entitled to. This feeling makes me quite uneasy. It even makes me feel a bit repulsed. Surely, having a pretty girl with a crush on you is something many men would dream of, but she's been plotting to dig into my life like this, moving in right across the hall from me, and coming up with all sorts of excuses to get closer, even possibly keeping an eye on me from places I'm unaware of. This isn't just liking, It is obsession and manipulation. I feel like a meticulously trapped prey. Liu Ruyan. I take a deep breath. I make an effort to keep my tone steady, yet it still sounds cold. I really appreciate your affection, but we're not meant for each other, not at all. She arched her eyebrows, a bit surprised by my refusal. Where is the incompatibility? We have different lifestyles. Our personalities are pretty different too. I am doing my best to come up with objective reasons. Plus, I just got out of a relationship. I'm not looking to start a new one right now. I know these reasons sound pretty weak, but I have to turn you down. I just can't accept that. Being with someone who could be scheming against me at any moment. Upon hearing what I said, Liu Ruyan's smile gradually faded away, replaced by feelings of hurt and disappointment. Is it because I don't measure up? She bowed her head, speaking in a soft voice. No, it is because you still can't let go of her. She suddenly looked up, her gaze sharp, and I went silent. I really haven't fully moved on from my last relationship. That relationship lasted 5 years, but eventually gave in to reality. It left a deep mark on me. That is also why I crave intimacy. Noticing my silence, Liu Ruyan's gaze dulled. Like a star that has lost its last bit of light, I realized. He spoke softly, his voice carrying a weariness and resignation I had never heard before. He didn't say anything more or glance at me again. He simply held the fat cat and quietly turned to head back to his room. That figure looked surprisingly desolate and lonely. As I gazed at his tightly shut door, I suddenly felt a strange discomfort within me. Did I say something too hurtful? She really looked genuinely heartbroken. But what am I supposed to do? Should I really act just out of pity? Am I really accepting her just because of this vague jealousy? It's unfair to both her and me. Never mind. Let's just leave it at that. A swift decision to cut through the chaos. Short pain is better than long pain. We are fundamentally from different worlds. Maybe just going back to being ordinary neighbors is the best ending. However, events in the following days caught me off guard again. Liu Ruyan really no longer disturbed me. She stopped knocking on my door. I won't make excuses anymore. Even when we bump into each other in the hallway, we just rush past, heads down, like we're strangers. It seems like he's truly given up. I should feel relieved. Really, finally free from this annoying neighbor. I can live a peaceful life again. But why does it feel so empty inside? Why can't I stop myself from listening to the sounds next door? Why do I automatically glance at his closed door when I open mine? Why have I begun to long for her bubbly chatter? The bright, sunny smile, even those laughably ridiculous excuses. Even that chubby cat named Nian Gao hasn't dropped by for days. I realize that something doesn't feel quite right with me. I've grown accustomed to being alone. It was only when he suddenly vanished that I realized I had long been attached to this awareness. It hit me. No way. He Nian, actually fell for that scheming Liu Ruyan, who came close to me. I really have developed feelings for her. Habits can be quite frightening. It is like slowly boiling a frog. It changes your temperature quietly, without you even realizing it. Your heartbeat, like the smoke of willows, no longer disrupts my life, what I call a tranquil life. I suddenly feel like life has become long and dull. In the morning, there will be no one knocking on the wrong door to bring me a warm cup of milk. At noon, no one will message me on WeChat asking if I need them to bring me lunch. In the evening, the living room will fall into silence, the cheerful sound of his laughter while watching variety shows. The balcony no longer has his figure, holding the cat while soaking in the moonlight. The door next door feels like a cold wall. It separates us into two different worlds once more. It also isolates that little warmth in my heart. That warmth that quietly grew inside me. I began to suffer from insomnia, tossing and turning in bed. My mind is uncontrollably filled with thoughts of him. I remember his sly smile. The first time he knocked on the door, I recall him cuddling a cat on my couch. The way he defenselessly fell asleep. I recall the time I had a cold. He awkwardly prepared ginger soup for me. The embarrassing moment when he almost burned the kitchen. Thinking back to when I rejected him. The look in his dim eyes and his lonely figure. It felt like something was blocking my heart. It was a stuffy and uncomfortable feeling that was hard to describe. He Nian. He Nian. Did you really make a mistake? Did you hurt his feelings too much? He has had a crush on you for so long, gathering so much courage to approach you. You used the coldest and most hurtful way, pushed her away, just because of that ridiculous pride, that fear of the past. I am becoming more and more irritable. Frequent mistakes at work. I've gone through the design draft repeatedly. I just can't seem to be satisfied with anything. The client's demands are starting to sound more and more harsh. I've even begun to miss the good old days. The days when Liu Ruoyan used to pester me. At least life was lively back then. It had color. Unlike now, everything feels dull and gray. Just as I was about to drown in disappointment and regret. Out of the blue, my ex-girlfriend, Lin Man, showed up. He has no idea where he got my address. He showed up right at my door, dressed in an expensive suit. He looked very polished. He stood at the entrance of my modest rental apartment. His gaze, familiar to me, had that condescending look. At his age, he began to speak. His tone was gentle, as if he were offering charity. I heard you've been having a tough time recently. I frowned, didn't say a word, and turned away. So you really can't handle it, huh? He was talking to himself. There was a hint of sarcasm at the corner of his mouth. I mentioned before that we're not from the same world. Your pitiful talent and self-esteem can't stand against reality. He lifted his hand to touch my cheek like he used to. I instinctively turned my head to dodge his hand, which was left hanging in the air. His face looked really bad at that time. He took a deep breath and softened his voice. I know you're still upset with me, but that is all behind us now. I am doing just fine. Now, my dad's business has also gotten back on track. If you are willing to come back to me. She gazed at me with a look of pity. I can help you out. Help you get back on your feet. Help you get back to where you belong. As I listened to his words, all I felt was a deep sense of irony and disgust. One of the main reasons we split up back then was her parents looked down on my average background and thought I couldn't give her the life she dreamed of. She really did quickly jump into another, wealthy second-generation guy who was a good match, I heard. It didn't last long after all. I used to feel hurt and bitter about it. But now, seeing the person in front of me who still values everything based on money and status, I suddenly feel incredibly grateful. I am thankful that I ended things with her. I am thankful I didn't turn out like him, someone who has been corrupted by materialism and vanity. I suddenly find myself missing Liu Ruoyan a lot. I miss her, even though she was a bit silly, yet her sincere affection for me was truly genuine. I miss her clumsy, but genuinely warm care. I miss her pure, untainted eyes free of any impurities. I don't need that anymore. I gazed at Lin Man, my tone devoid of emotion, yet it conveyed an unmistakable sense of distance. I am doing really great these days. He laughed derisively, as if he had just heard a joke. Janian, stop playing tough. Just take a look at where you are living now. I don't need your concern about my place. I cut her off, my eyes cold. Miss Lin, if you have no other business, please take your leave. She likely didn't see this harshness coming from me. Her complexion shifted from pale to flushed. Janian, don't be so ungrateful. I'm considering. What? I look at her, thinking about our past friendship. Lin Man, we've long since lost any friendship. From the moment you unhesitatingly abandoned me for a better future. From that moment on. So please, don't bother me anymore. After saying that, I didn't look at her face anymore, twisted by anger. I just shut the door. I need to completely shut out the past. That is Lin Man. Afterwards, I leaned against the door, yet I felt no sense of victory at all. All I felt was a deeper emptiness and loss. Lin Man's presence was like a mirror. It reflected my current mess. It also revealed my deep concern for Liu Ruoyan. I can't go on like this. I can't keep lying to myself. I want to see Liu Ruoyan. I am having regrets. I regret how I treated her back then. I regret pushing away someone who could be the only person for me, who truly cares about me. But is it too late to turn back now? Will she still notice me? Has he completely lost faith in me? Or maybe he has already left. After all, the landlord said he wants to sell the place. He could move out at any moment. This thought hits me like a hammer. It hit me hard in the heart. No way. I can't let him leave. I suddenly yanked the door open. I rushed over and pounded hard on Liu Ruoyan's door. Liu Ruoyan, open up. I know, you're in there. I have something to say to you. You didn't open the door. Even after I knocked for a long time, there was no response from inside at all. Could it be that he actually moved away? In an instant, my heart plummeted. A huge wave of panic and regret crashed over me. No way. He can't just walk out like this. I was frantically banging on the door. Liu Ruoyan, please let me in. I am begging you. Just hear me out. I know I messed up. Please. Don't leave me. I was even starting to babble. Just when I was nearly at my wit's end. Suddenly, the door next to me swung open. A middle-aged woman leaned out. She frowned and stared at me. Hey, young man. What are you knocking for? Miss Liu left this morning with her suitcase. She actually left. I felt like I was struck by lightning. My body was frozen. I was frozen in place, unable to move. I had a completely blank mind. All that was left was endless regret and despair. Ultimately, I ended up losing her, the one girl who genuinely cared for me. I pushed her away with my own hands. I have no idea how I made my way back to my room. In a daze, it feels like the entire world has turned gray. My heart feels empty, like a piece of it has been taken out. The cold wind is blowing in fiercely. Liu Ruyan is gone. She took away the heart that I had broken. She has completely vanished from my world. You deserve it, He Jinyan. You really do. I collapsed onto the sofa, gazing at the empty room and the twilight slowly fading outside the window. For the first time, I truly understood what it means to feel regret. If only I hadn't said those painful words back then. If I had realized my feelings sooner. If only there were no such things as IFs. As I sank deeper into endless self-blame and regret, my eyes accidentally caught sight of the shoe cabinet at the door, as if there was something sitting there. It turned out to be a small envelope. I was momentarily stunned. I walked over and picked up the envelope. It felt surprisingly light. It had no writing on it at all. I opened it with curiosity. Instead of a letter, a key fell out. It was a key. I knew all too well. It was the key to Liu Ruyan's home. She must have left the key behind. What could this possibly mean? Does it mean he hasn't gone far? My heart started racing right away. Like a drowning person, clinging to the last lifeline. I was shaking as I held the key. I dashed back to the door across the hall. I put the key in the lock and turned it. With a click, the door swung open. I slammed the door open. The room was completely vacant. Everything had been taken away. All that was left was a faint fragrance of gardenia in the air. He ended up leaving anyway. So, what about this key? I looked down at the floor in the middle of the living room. There was a folded note lying there. I went over and bent down to grab the note. My fingers were shaking a bit from nervousness. When I opened it, I found just a line of pretty handwriting. It said that I've rented the place for a year. Feel free to borrow anything, anytime you need, but this time, I'm going to wait for you to be the one to knock. This time, it is my turn to wait for you to take the initiative and knock on the door. Gazing at the note that carries a hint of slyness, a glimmer of hope for myself, my eyes instantly filled with tears. It felt like my heart was overflowing with something, a mix of sourness and pressure, and an indescribable, overwhelming joy, and the relief of having regained what was lost. He didn't actually go away. He was just giving me an opportunity in this way, an opportunity for me to take the initiative and approach him. That silly fool. This foolish and headstrong guy. I clutched the key and the note tightly and dashed out the door. I raced downstairs like a madman. I need to find him immediately. I want to tell him just how regretful I feel, how much I long for him, how deeply I love her. I have no idea where he has gone, but I know he's probably nearby, waiting for me to come knock on his door. I searched every cafe around the community, every single bookstore, every place he could possibly be, shouting his name again and again. Liu Ruyan, Liu Ruyan, where are you? People passing by glanced over. They stared at me as if I were crazy, but I don't mind. All I want is to find her. Right now, right this moment. At last, I found myself on a bench in the community park. I spotted that familiar silhouette. He had his head down, staring at his phone. His fingers were moving quickly over the screen. It looked like he was having a chat with someone. The glow of the setting sun bathed her in light, casting a gentle, golden hue around her. She looked as beautiful as a painting. I stopped in my tracks. I gazed at her calm and tranquil demeanor. The anxiety and panic in my heart gradually calmed down. Instead, it is a kind of almost devout, tender feelings. I tidied up a bit because it was a bit messy from running. Clothes and hair. Take a deep breath. Then she walked towards him step by step with determination. It seems I heard footsteps. Look up and see, it is me. She paused for a moment, taken aback. Then, a look of relief spread across her face. A radiant smile. That smile was warmer and more dazzling than the sunset. In an instant, it lit up my whole dark world. I walked up to her, stopped, and just stared in silence. My eyes felt a bit teary. I kept quiet as well. She just gazed at me. Her eyes sparkled, bright. It is as if we're filled with starlight. We are quietly gazing into each other's eyes like this. It feels like time has stopped at this moment. Everything around us turns into a blurry background. In this world, it feels like only we are left. Eventually, he was the first to speak, asking how I got here. There was a hint of subtle reproach in her voice, and I couldn't help but smile. I reached out and pulled her tightly into my embrace, saying sorry. I softly whispered in her ear, I am sorry for making you wait. We held each other in a warm embrace for quite a while, until the sun had fully dipped below the horizon. Night gently fell. It was only then that we reluctantly said our goodbyes, yet our hands remained tightly intertwined. So I can't help but feel a little unsure inside. So, you really have forgiven me, right? She teasingly lifted her chin. Well, since you were fairly sincere earlier, I'll let you off the hook this time. But then, he shifted the topic. He reached out and lightly poked my chest with his finger. While you might escape death, you can't avoid the consequences. From then on, he started squinting his eyes, just like a sly little fox. You should treat me twice as well. Compensate for all the grievances I've endured over the years. Sure, I nodded right away. My attitude was extremely sincere. Whatever you say is fine. By me, from now on, you will be in charge of my salary card. I'll handle all the household chores. Feel free to borrow anything you need any time. She couldn't help but laugh at how I looked. She stretched out her hand and gave my cheek a pinch. Now, we're talking, he nodded, approvingly. Then she stood on her tiptoes and planted a kiss on my lips. She left a sweet kiss that smelled of gardenias. She took my hand and led me home. He said the word, home, feeling an unmatched warmth and sense of belonging. Yes, it feels like coming home. Back to our shared home. Hand in hand, we slowly walk back. The streetlights elongate our shadows and light up the road ahead. He suddenly recalled something and turned to ask me, what happened to your ex-girlfriend afterwards? I know she means Lin Man, but there's really not much to say. I shook my head. It's all behind me now. She nodded and didn't ask any further, but I know she still cares a bit deep down. This little fool who gets jealous easily. I paused and turned around. I gently held her face and gazed into her eyes. I said, with complete seriousness, Liu Ruoyan, pay attention. I've moved on from my past. As for my present and future, I paused, clearly stating, word by word, that you are the only one. Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time, it's filled with happiness and deep emotion. It's overflowing with happiness and heartfelt feelings. She took a sniff. She rose on her tiptoes and kissed me once more. This kiss was deeper and more passionate than the last one. It felt like we were trying to merge into each other's lives, and after a long time, our lips finally parted. She nestled into my arms and whispered softly, He Jinian, you're not allowed to call me neighbor anymore. All right? I feigned ignorance and asked, what do you call that? She lifted her head, her cheeks turning red. Her eyes shone brightly. There was a glimmer of mischief and eagerness. I asked her to come closer and whisper in my ear.